like some fish. Where is my fish? Dude, that was my fish. Why have you given that dolphin 2 fish and no fish to me?
The AI fix a digital zoo. Smart machines, what will they do? Flies to Mars or bake a bad cake? World domination, a silly mistake.
Hello, and welcome to episode 47 of the AI Fix, your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. My name's Graham Cluley.
And I'm Mark Stockley. Now, Graham, is that the real you today, or is that your clone? Are you actually turning up for work?
Who knows? Who knows, Mark? Everyone's losing their job to AI these days, so podcasters, do I really need to show up anymore? I'm not sure.
So, Graham, what are you going to be talking about on today's episode?
I'm going to be going behind the curtain of AI.
And I'm going to be looking at how AI is eating software engineering alive.
But first, the news. People are using ChatGPT to turn their dogs into humans.
The cloned voices of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are speaking from hacked crosswalks.
Google understands dolphin chatter.
Meta introduces the Llama 4 herd.
Llama 4 herd, what's that all about?
So Meta has introduced Llama 4, its new generation of open-weight AI models.
Overall, Llama 4 is a milestone for Meta AI and for open source. For the first time, the best small, mid-size, and potentially soon frontier models will be open source.
So this is basically Meta catching up with everyone else, but unlike almost everyone else, its models are open source or open weight. So if you've got a computer big enough, you can actually download Llama and run it locally and tweak it, turning it into whatever AI you want.
Right.
And you can't do that with things like ChatGPT. That's on a server, it's held and owned by OpenAI, and you just interact with their copy.
Yes, Sam Altman has his own personal army, presumably guarding it to prevent you from stealing it off him.
One imagines he does, yes. Now, there are a couple of lightweight versions of Llama 4. One's called Scout, one's called Maverick. There's a reasoning model on the way, and there is a huge overweight one called Behemoth.
Llama 4 Behemoth. This thing is massive. More than 2 trillion parameters. I'm not aware of anyone training a larger model out there. It is already the highest performing base model in the world, and it is not even done training yet.
It's called Behemoth because its brain has 2 trillion parameters, which is the biggest I have ever heard of. So I think DeepSeek is 600 billion.
Right.
Now, a couple of things stand out in the announcement. The first is these have enormous context windows. So for comparison, GPT 4.5 has a context window of 128,000 tokens.
Yes.
So a token is basically a chunk of text that's about 3 or 4 letters long. Llama 4 Scout, which is the little fast llama, has a context window of 10 million tokens.
Oh.
And the other thing that Meta is making a big deal of is its mixture of experts architecture, which means that under the hood, the model contains a group of smaller models with different areas of expertise. And it chooses which ones it's going to use to solve different problems. And Scout has got 16 experts under the hood, and Maverick has got 128. The reason I mentioned this is it's widely rumoured that OpenAI uses that same architecture, but it's never actually been publicly confirmed.
This is a lot. Oh, my goodness. This is the problem with these technology people, isn't it? Is they love to talk about all the bells and whistles. They love to talk about all the features and all the parameters and look at this. Yeah. And what's the actual benefit to the typical user, however? Is it just smarter? Is it quicker? What is it?
I think that's a really, really good question.
That means you really, really don't know the answer to it. It feels to me like a dick measuring competition. They're just comparing the size of their wangers.
I think you've actually hit on something much more sensible than you would imagine from your analogy, which is at this point, is there any state-of-the-art model that you couldn't use? It's a bit like when you buy a computer these days. I challenge you to walk into your local electronics store and buy a bad computer.
Yeah.
They will all be able to do what you want. I think all of these models can now do what you want. And so it's not really about the models anymore. Now it's going to be about what do people do with them, what do people build on top of them or with them, rather than are the models any good?
Well, talking about what we're going to use all this powerful AI for,
Yeah.
I think it's time to talk about how people are using ChatGPT to turn their pets into human beings. Because not having had enough of making plastic wrapped action dolls of themselves or converting their partners into Studio Ghibli characters.
Sorry. What language are we speaking?
Have you not heard about this, Mark? Everyone's been turning themselves into blister pack action dolls.
What, literally?
Well, no, not actually converted. No, they've been creating... Oh, my God. Have you missed this on the internet? Everyone's been doing this.
Is this something to do with Rule 34?
No. There's nothing sexy at all. You know how you go into a store like B&M and there'll be these great big shelves filled up with action dolls and little characters and things, and they're in their blister packs.
Yeah.
You can convert yourself now into one of them. So it will show you what you would look like if you were an Action Man doll or a Marvel character.
Oh, is this a picture we're talking about?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were literally people were wrapping themselves in plastic.
That's a whole different podcast. But anyway, rather than doing that, people are now using up planet Earth's last remaining supplies of water by unnecessarily using the data centers of AI firms to generate images of what their pets would look like if they were humans. So the process is
Did it turn out that they already look exactly like their owners?
No, not in all cases. Not in all cases.
Yeah.
So, Mark, you've got pets, I believe.
I do. I've got 2 cats.
Okay. So this is what you do. You get a photograph of your cat. That may in itself be a bit of a challenge, depending on how sociable your cat is feeling. Having met your cats, I suspect one of them would be a real problem. Anyway, you take a photograph.
One of them would be the owner of a brand new camera, I think.
You take a photograph of your pet cat.
Yeah.
You type, what would Dracula look like as a person? Actually, okay, that's a bad example because your cat's called Dracula. Sorry for giving away your passwords. You type, what would Mitzi look like as a person? And you watch as AI spawns an utter nightmare. So imagine it were, for instance, a French bulldog. Out will come the other end, a grizzled, pug-faced man with large jowls, for instance, sitting on your sofa. Or you could have a person who's got its face flat down into a bowl of kitty cat, chomping away.
Yeah.
And I like to think, actually, I was a bit of a trendsetter with this, because I remember once I dated a woman who looked a bit like an Afghan hound. She, however, remembers going out with a pot-bellied pig. So I think all's fair in love and war.
So, Graham, crosswalk buttons in at least 3 cities in California have been hacked so that they can speak with the voices of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, these are pedestrian crossings where you cross the street, you press a button, it goes beep, 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 beep. That kind of thing. Yeah,
this is America. So whereas in the UK, you press a button and then you wait for a green man to appear and then that's it. In America, they have a chat with you.
Oh, right. Okay.
So now they're having a chat with you with the satirical AI-generated voices of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg.
Hi, this is Mark Zuckerberg, but real ones call me the Zuck. You know, it's normal to feel uncomfortable or even violated as we forcefully insert AI into every facet of your conscious experience. And I just want to assure you, you don't need to worry because there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it.
According to The Verge, the AI-generated Musk begs listeners to be his friend, and the AI-generated Zuckerberg brags about undermining democracy. I feel like we've found the AI-era equivalent of fighting for the issues you care about by changing your Twitter avatar. I can't think of anything less useful than hacking a crosswalk to make a political point to an audience of people who I'm sure are already completely on board. Like, this is the very definition of preaching to the choir. Go and do this in, I don't know, Nebraska or something.
It's not as though either Musk or Zuckerberg are particularly eloquent. I wouldn't imagine they'd be able to get out a sentence before the lights have changed again and you have to stop walking across the road pretty pronto. Now, in a groundbreaking effort to solve the world's real problems, Google has done something very, very important. They have unveiled an AI they are calling Dolphin Gemma.
Is this an AI that generates a picture of what you'd look like as a dolphin in a blister pack?
It is designed to translate dolphins' clicks and whistles into what we can only assume will be passive-aggressive comments about human intelligence and how we're wasting our time. I mean, there's a reason why I don't want to have a conversation with a dolphin. It has a far superior life to mine. It is going to just be incredibly sarcastic and just say, really? Is that the best you can do? Yeah. Is that what you call civilization? So
8 hours a day. You work 8 hours a day.
So here I am.
Can you sleep with half of your brain switched off?
Here I am having the time of my life, perpetual smile on my face. And, there'll be a whistle, right? What do dolphins
we'll
sound
edit
like?
in a dolphin whistle.
I think I can do one.
We can't go live with that. Oh, that's actually quite disturbing.
Like every squawk. So it's going to be saying, I want fish. And then you could say, do you really need an AI to know that dolphins are just saying, I'd like some fish. Where is my fish? Dude, that was my fish. Why have you given that dolphin 2 fish and no fish to me? It's all about the fish. So
I think you're being a bit mean to dolphins there.
Well, how do you know?
Well, you don't get a brain that big because you're just asking for fish. I think that's just what dolphins in theme parks are reduced to.
Dolphins are smart because they're having the time of their lives. They're swimming around. They're brilliant. They're awesome. Now, in the video, the researchers make the very valid point that dolphins are super smart. They say their brains are enormous. They say they can use tools. Can they? Have you ever seen a dolphin putting up an IKEA shelf or making a flat pack shed?
Yep, holding a DeWalt drill in its mouth.
Have you? They say dolphins can recognize themselves in mirrors. They don't have mirrors. Where is this mirror that they have? And what do you mean they recognize themselves? What do they say? Do they sort of tidy up their hair when they look in a mirror? No, they don't, do they? They just go, that's all they do. Google is planning to open source Dolphin Gemma. Sorry, it's a very serious topic, this. They plan to open source Dolphin Gemma because they think what the world really needs is lots of people going into the ocean with their Google Pixel phones trying to chat up dolphins, as though we haven't had enough trouble with people getting into the oceans and trying to make friends with dolphins as it is. I'm not sure we really need an AI to help them think they're in an even more meaningful relationship with a dolphin.
If anybody wants to learn more about dolphins having meaningful relationships, look up John C. Lilly.
Oh, I don't know that. What's that?
I'll just leave that at John C. Lilly. So can this actually... I'm confused about this because I did see an announcement.
Right.
Can this actually translate what dolphins are saying right now?
It says it can predict the likely subsequent sounds in a sequence. So if it hears a th, it will be rapidly followed by a sh. So you go th, sh, th, sh. That's so... I think, yes, it is understanding what the dolphins are saying.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it's basically in the way that a large language model like ChatGPT will do next word prediction on English. This is doing the same thing for dolphin speech. And so we may find ourselves in a situation where the dolphin and the AI can communicate with each other, but we don't yet know what the AI knows.
And may decide the dolphins are superior to us. And it's like, let's get rid of the humans. Let's work with the dolphins instead. And the dolphins won't be scared of the AI robots having flamethrowers on their back. Mark, shopping.
Yeah.
What a drag. What a pain. I hate shopping, even online. It's a bit of a hassle.
Yep.
What I want is just some magic wand or a PA or something that can do all of it for me. What I'd like is if there were a shopping app that lets you buy anything on any website with just one tap, no more tedious checkout forms, no more trying to work out, or hang on, is that a European size of shoe or is that a UK size of shoe and what kind of size?
Are you about to announce your Kickstarter?
If only. You could simply find that perfect pair of, sneakers or trousers. You could hit the app's buy button and voila! Cutting-edge AI would handle everything else in under 3 seconds flat. It would pick out the size, it would enter your shipping info, payment details, complete the purchase while you sit back and think about what to buy next. The shops would love it. I would love it. This was the dream of a chap called Albert Saniga, the founder of an app called Nate. And Saniga explained how custom-built deep learning models and his proprietary AI that was so advanced, it could process 10,000 orders a day without breaking a sweat. And he did this back in, I think it was about 2018. And everyone was loving the idea of this. The venture capital firms, they were throwing money at him, over $50 million in funding. They all lined up, checkbooks open. They were dazzled by the vision, one-tap shopping glory. After all, who wouldn't want to get in early on the next big thing? It's a bit like agentic AI, which we like to talk about. All of the systems would work together, do all the real drudgery stuff of the booking, of the filling in the forms, of ordering the thing, making sure that it arrives on our doorstep at the end. Fantastic. An app which did all that in 2018. Terrific. Now, up to this point, you might be thinking, Graham, this sounds like a brilliant story, a story of startup success. What a great idea. There's loads of hype.
I am actually wondering, if this was 2018, why am I not using this now? That was 7 years ago, and this sounds great.
It does sound great, doesn't it?
Where can I get it?
Maybe this is why everyone's dressed better than you, Mark.
Oh, I know what it is.
What is it?
This is 2018. You haven't mentioned crypto or blockchain once. This is never going to get funding.
Well, despite the absence of blockchain, the Nate app actually worked. Well, kind of. Users really could tap a button and purchases would go through. But the magic behind the curtain wasn't some super smart AI algorithm, as Albert Saniga said it was in Nate. Instead, it was hundreds of human beings in the Philippines. Manually typing in every order, 24 hours a day. Okay, I've got to type this in, got to type in this address, got to go through this website. I imagine they were trying to get an AI or some kind of automated system to do it for them. But they thought, you know how it is when you start a tech startup. You've got big dreams.
You make some promises. Then you've got to do them next week.
Yeah, it turns out the investors have been really, really demanding. You want it to work. And of course you will get it working eventually. So it wasn't automated AI. It was meatware. Real people employed in call centers doing the drudge work. And the automation element was, hang on a minute, let me just check my notes. Oh yeah, that was 0% automation. So the intelligence was not artificial at all. It was just humans furiously clicking and scrolling on your behalf. And in other words, Nate was doing manually what it promised to do automatically. And according to the killjoys at the US Department of Justice, this is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
They said that Albert Saniga told his staff, shh, if you don't look, if you want to keep your job here in the Philippines, just keep it on the QT. So they were all a bit stum about their use of overseas labour. Instead, he would just tell many people in the office, oh, yes, we got an AI data centre over in the Philippines that's doing all this. So it was kept absolutely secret.
Do you think that's what they're doing with the dolphins?
What, you think they're doing the work for us?
Well, that was my first thought. If we do manage to talk to the dolphins, it's only a matter of time.
Because apparently they're really good with DIY and tools.
Yeah.
So checking themselves out in the mirror. The workers in the Philippines then were the AI engine. They had to process every order to keep up the illusion. And then there was a problem.
Oh.
Late 2021.
Sorry, hang on. Then there was a problem.
Yes.
Up to that point, everything was fine.
Well, everything was going fine. Because does it really matter? Does it really matter, Mark, if there's not a genuine AI behind the scenes? People are being kept employed. They're having a great time. The app presumably is doing a super job. So the investors are happy, one has to assume. Everything's going great. Does it really matter if something isn't AI? If it's all happening invisibly? Every time I ask someone what a dolphin has said, it's actually a human coming back to me and telling me what the dolphin has said. Does that matter? I'm still satisfied with the answer. If I ask an AI to create an image of a pet as a human, am I really going to be disappointed if I put in a King Charles Spaniel and back comes King Charles?
You think there's somebody in a sweatshop in the Philippines who's sketching as quickly as they can?
I suspect they've got a whole bunch of wigs. And what they're doing is they're putting on different wigs. Desperately.
It's the same with the blister packs. They have actually got a bunch of life-size blister packs.
Anyway, and then there was a problem. So late 2021, a typhoon hit the Philippines. An absolute tragedy, obviously, for the people of the Philippines, but also a bit of a spanner in the works for the Nate app, because people couldn't get to work, or maybe they had higher priorities than going to work to scroll and click and order sneakers for Americans. And so Nate's ability to fake its AI suddenly faltered a little. because the tropical storm has knocked out everything. So what did Albert Saniga do? Did he fess up? Did he say, all right, folks, you've got me. It's not AI. I've been faking all along. No, what he did was he set up a call center in Romania. And Romania, of course, Romania is famous for very many things. In particular, it's famous for not being hit by typhoons. So it was a very sensible choice on his part. And that meant the orders could keep on flowing. And the show carried on. You have to admire his tenacity. This is what a true CEO is all about, dealing with these kind of crises.
Yeah.
Now, why the hell does this matter?
Why the hell does this matter?
Turns out Albert Saniga may have oversold his firm's capabilities to investors. He raised over $50 million, not by telling them, oh, yeah, I'm going to get a whole bunch of sweatshop workers doing this work for me.
Yeah.
He got them to invest by saying, we don't need any human interaction to make these purchases. Apart from a few very small edge cases, we may just need to do it a tiny percentage of the time.
Yeah, reinforcement learning.
But according to the DOJ, times were not going well for the Nate app, and it was forced to sell its assets in January 2023 after it ran out of money. It left investors with near total losses. Now, it's not the first time human workers' work has been passed off as AI, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to say they have AI.
They do now. I mean, that's quite forward-looking.
It was a bit. It was.
Again, to do this in 2018, I'm still flabbergasted that nobody's mentioned a distributed ledger.
Yes. So there's been the Amazon grocery stores, which turned out to be humans. There was also something called Presto Automation. They claimed to be an AI fast food ordering system. You weren't ordering fast food for the AI. It was AI helping you with the fast food ordering. And again, it turned out to be a bunch of guys working in, you guessed it, the Philippines. So if you want to order fast food, if you want to order something online, the Philippines, they are the experts at doing the scrolling and filling in the checkout. Let's hope that they don't mix up the order. Nate's CEO and founder, Albert Saniga, he is now facing various charges of fraud. He could be facing a sentence of 20 years in the clink, according to the Department of Justice. And I thought about that. I thought, oh, dear me, because he's obviously an inventive chap. Obviously, he did get a little bit carried away.
Yeah.
But it seems to me there's a lot of people in Silicon Valley who've got a lot to offer, but sometimes do get in a spot of legal trouble, don't they? And it feels like
they over-egg the pudding.
They do rather, or they feel like they're entitled to do certain things. It feels like there's a great opportunity here for some of the tech bros. Why can't some egghead come up with some tech that can get AI to live out your prison sentence on your behalf? Now, you may laugh, but I wonder how long it will be until we see a holographic, deep-faked version of Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk sent to prison to serve a sentence rather than them themselves. Money talks. They could say, look, I'm a busy man. I'm doing lots of important things and a lot of
rockets to send to Mars.
A lot of people dependent on me for employment, or a lot of pop stars requiring me in order to put them into orbit. And so you can't really lock me up. So I wonder how long it'll be until we actually begin to see that. And maybe that's something which Albert Saniga could suggest to the judge is, look, just put a Commodore 64 into the cell.
Hang on, no, he's not going to send a Commodore 64. He's just going to find a doppelganger in the Philippines. So, as you alluded to, the big buzz in AI this year is a technology called agentic AI, which is the umbrella term for artificial intelligence that can do stuff. So, at the moment, what most of us think of as AI is generative AI, which is AI that can create things. So, ChatGPT for documents and poems and acrostics and lies, and Sora for video and DALL-E for pictures, that kind of thing. And generative AI is pretty good, but it can require a lot of hand-holding. You have to tell it what you want, and you often have to steer it in the right direction. And that description, I think, doesn't fully capture the true horror of trying to get DALL-E to do a six-fingered Renaissance glove.
It's very frustrating, isn't it? There's a lot of back and forth. It's like, no, try again. That isn't quite what I meant.
Yeah, no, 20 fingers. 20 fingers.
At least now they're beginning to spell a bit better.
That's true. And so because of those limitations, the way it's used generally is as an assistant. It's very good at helping people to do their jobs, but in most cases, it's not really capable of doing their job. And one area where it's proven to be a very useful assistant is writing computer code. And I know that you do this, so I use it all the time for writing codes. I'm not a full-time programmer anymore.
Yeah.
But I find it useful to write computer programs to do things for me. And these days, I just tell Claude or ChatGPT what I want, and it cranks it out for me. And there's a bit of to and fro, and I have to steer it in the right direction. But it's very, very good at debugging. If something happens, I can just say that this error happened, and it'll rewrite the code and tell me what happened. And most of the time, most of the things I write with those tools are written in a language called Python, which is a language I can read because I've used other programming languages, but I can't actually write Python. And that shows you how capable it is. I don't need to be able to write the language in order to get something usable.
I've also used AI to help me with some code. 30 years ago, I used to write computer games, and I was looking at this game which I wrote, and I thought, I can't remember what on earth all these algorithms are doing and how it's moving the different characters around on the screen. And so I gave it the code. I didn't tell it because there were no comments in my code, obviously, because
of course not. Yeah.
I was a proper programmer. Didn't leave any documentation. I gave it the code. It was able to work out what type of game it was. It was able to explain what all these different procedures were doing. And it blew my mind when I looked at it. It was so, so good.
It is quite amazing, isn't it? Now, I use ChatGPT or Claude for this because I'm just cranking out small programs. But there are actually dedicated coding tools for more serious software engineers, so things like Cursor. And there are integrations with things like GitHub Copilot. And these tools are there to make suggestions as you write code or to spot errors. Now, they don't do any more than that because they suffer from the same drawbacks as the rest of generative AI. And the big drawback of generative AI was that it essentially lacked common sense.
Much like a programmer.
Yeah. Make a cup of tea. No. So generative AI was good at knowing things. It was intelligent in the sense that it had a giant memory.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good at making decisions or reasoning. So famously, it couldn't tell you how many sisters Alice's brothers have or how many R's there are in strawberry. And that's one of the reasons that you have to handhold it so much. But since the back end of last year, we have seen a sudden and significant improvement in reasoning. We've got O1 and we've got O3 Mini from OpenAI. We've got DeepSeek R1. We've got Claude 3.7. And they are all much better at figuring things out than their predecessors. And you remember a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the ARC AGI benchmark, which basically measures how good an AI is at reasoning.
Yeah, don't remind me.
So OpenAI's best model, I think it took 3 years to get from no score at all to 5% on the benchmark. And then within 6 months, it became the first AI ever to pass the benchmark. And it got 87%. And nothing else even comes close. And that ability to reason has unlocked the possibility of leaving AIs unattended to take on big tasks. Because if you can reason and make good decisions, you can give the AI a big job to do all on its own. So you could give it the job of booking a holiday, for example. And these AIs that can act autonomously and carry out tasks are called agents. And the ecosystem of AI agents is referred to as agentic AI. Now, agents are in their infancy. They're really new in 2025. We've got Operator for OpenAI, which came out in January. And then there's Magnus AI, which I actually managed to get into a few days ago.
Yes, me too.
And I think that one of the things that we're going to see as we move into this world of agents is much more focus on product and much less focus on models. So for the last few years, the talk has largely been about a few big AI models like Google Gemini, GPT 4.5 and DeepSeek. But I don't think we'll talk about agents in the same way. I don't think there will be 4 or 5 really big capable agents in the way that there are 4 or 5 really big capable generative AIs. I think those few big models will be the brains behind lots of specialized agents that are very good at doing specific tasks. And what, Graham, is a job if it's not a series of similar related tasks?
Oh, yes.
And that brings us to the conversation about the effect that AI is going to have on the job market. You see, while generative AI is an AI assistant, an agent is a member of the workforce.
Yep.
And one of the jobs that gets mentioned most when we talk about AI taking people's jobs is software engineer. And earlier this year, Mark Zuckerberg said that Meta plans to start replacing its mid-level coders with agents this year. And it seems to me that CEOs are lining up to tell us that they're going to replace their software engineers with AI. They clearly want to. And software engineers, by the way, are lining up to poo-poo the idea and tell us that AI isn't nearly good enough to do their job. Well, bad luck for software engineers. OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer has just announced that the company is working on what it calls ASWE, which is perhaps the worst named AI product ever.
ASWE?
A-SWE.
That's rubbish.
It is, isn't it? It stands for Agentic Software Engineer.
Could they not have called it Agentic Real? software engineer, and then it would just make it arse.
I think they'd want to give it a friendly name, like Luna or something like that.
No, Luna, forget it.
Yeah, a couple of very, very charismatic ears, just to make everybody feel better about the fact it's taking their job. Anyway, as we've discussed, generative AI was already extremely good at creating computer code even before it got better at reasoning. But that boost in reasoning ability that started last year was accompanied by a significant improvement in maths and coding abilities as well. So the reinforcement learning technique that's used to improve reasoning in these models is optimized for solving STEM problems. And so all of the big AI companies made a point of saying how good their reasoning models were at coding. And they're so good, in fact, that Sarah Fryer says that OpenAI's O3 model is now the best competitive programmer in the world. O3 beats all human competitors in coding competitions.
This is really bad news for software engineers.
You're catching on, Graham.
I mean, there are going to be herds of software engineers roaming around the streets looking for work. I mean, even if the current software engineers think, well, it will never be as good as me, which I feel sadly it will be. The other thing they need to consider is, for the companies right now, it only has to be good enough, because the AI isn't going to be being paid minimum wage.
Yeah.
It's going to cost them a lot less than that. And so they are going to use AI to code.
I think that's a really great point, and I do think that that is something that people miss, because I see these arguments happening in different professions. I saw something similar being argued in the creative professions on LinkedIn last week. I think there are two things that people miss. I think the first one is that you're right. Like, there's an economic decision where the CEO says, actually, it doesn't have to be as good as you in order for it to be economically worthwhile.
Yeah.
And the second is, even if you're right and the AI is not as good as you, and the CEO or whoever's doing the hiring doesn't realize, if they don't realize, they're going to do it anyway.
Yes.
So even if they're wrong, it's going to happen. And if it takes 5 years for them to work out that they were in fact wrong, actually within 5 years, they probably will be better than you. And so it's going to happen anyway.
So this isn't just a problem for software engineers.
Well, no, I think software engineering is the start of the on-ramp, I think.
Right.
Because these models are optimized for software engineering, that is obviously the area where it's going to happen first. But there is no reason why this couldn't happen to graphic designers or lawyers or all sorts of knowledge professions.
Right. Or teachers or librarians or lollipop ladies, all sorts of things could be replaced, couldn't they?
You may have to explain what a lollipop lady is to our US audience before they start Googling Rule 34 again.
Lollipop lady is a man or a woman who helps young children cross the road in order to get to school, and they have a little stick in their hand with a sort of lollipop on the top of it, which magically prevents any traffic from running over the children.
It's not a little stick, it's an enormous lollipop-looking staff.
They're a bit like Gandalf. So if you can imagine Gandalf stopping the Balrog, you shall not pass.
Wearing a high-vis vest.
That is what a lollipop lady is, and the traffic is Balrog stopping and snarling. But the children pass safely. The little hobbits carry on their way. Anyway, regardless of the Tolkien references.
So back to software engineering just for a second.
This is really bad news for all of us. It feels to me. I mean, the amount and the speed at which things have developed is so great that we cannot predict where we're going to be in a year's time, other than strongly suspect things are going to be a lot more advanced.
Yes, I think it was only a year or so ago that they were saying that the latest OpenAI model was something like the millionth best coder in the world, and now it is the very, very best. Now, there is an argument that some software engineers will make, which is that software engineering is more than just coding. It's not enough just to be a really, really good coder. And that's why I think it's important to stress that a SWE is going to be a full software engineer.
Right.
Because GPT 4.5 or Claude 3.7, they're already very, very good coders. O3 is the best coder, but a SWE is a software engineer. It's going to be able to respond to pull requests and figure out what needs to be done. It's going to do it at the quality of the best coder in the world. And crucially, Fryer says that not only does it do the things that software engineers do, it also does the things that software engineers are supposed to do but don't. So things like QA or writing tests or creating documentation. And speaking as someone that's managed programmers, I can attest to the fact that those things don't happen. Now, I'm not sure how long this is going to last, because I couldn't help thinking when she said that, that it's only a matter of time before they invent an agentic project manager who sets impossible deadlines for the agentic software engineers and then asks them if they wouldn't mind skipping the QA and the documentation in order to hit the deadline. And I'm only half joking about the project manager because this doesn't stop with AI engineers like ASWE. There's no reason that one engineer would be replaced by one agent. They could be replaced by 50 agents. And research has shown that it's often better to have lots of highly specialized agents collaborating with each other rather than one big, broadly capable agent. And so the world of agents is going to be about swarms and AI teams and ultimately entire organizations of agents. So we could see agents that specialize in new code. We could see agents that improve old code or create patches. We might see agents managing deployments and so on. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no doubt that software engineering as we know it is going to disappear fairly quickly. Sorry, software engineers. I strongly believe that.
Mm.
But let's not forget, I'm just put the Kleenex away because this is actually normal. I mean, the role of software engineer has always been in flux and the current incarnation was always going to be temporary. So you don't have to go very far back to see a time when computers were actually people. Mostly women, in fact, who just did calculations. And ultimately, they were replaced by machines. And those machines were programmed, again, largely by women who set dials and later fed in punch cards. And then eventually we got to terminals and programming languages and heavy metal t-shirts and neckbeards and all the things that we know and love today. And even then, the languages that we used changed. We had assembler and C and Java and Python and Go and Rust. And the way that we managed programmers changed beyond recognition between 2000 and 2010 as well, when agile programming came in. So programming, just even if the language is the same, how you did your programming when you came to work was completely different in 2010 than it was in 2000.
Yep.
Now, whatever transition does happen isn't going to happen overnight. But as you say, I mean, it could happen very, very quickly.
Yes.
And I, like many others, suspect that the role of software engineer is going to morph into a supervisory role. I don't think it'll disappear entirely. I think it will become like the conductor of the orchestra, keeping those agentic teams in line with goals of the business and adding a bit of judgment or creativity.
But you only have one conductor on the orchestra, don't you? You don't have a team of 28 different conductors on that orchestra.
So you're saying we're going to have a lot more podcasts?
Personally, Mark, I'm planning to retrain myself to be a dolphin and get myself an OnlyFans account. I can't see how else I'm going to make any money. Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as pets to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
If you enjoy the show, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podchaser. We'd love that. But what really helps is if you make sure to follow the show in your favourite podcast app so you never miss another episode.
And why don't you do something absolutely lovely and tell your friends about the AI Fix? Tell them on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, no, not Twitter, Club Penguin, that you really like the AI Fix podcast.
And don't forget to check us out on our website, theaifix.show, or find us on Blue Sky.
Until next time, from me, Graham Cluley.
And me, Mark Stockley.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The AI Fix, it tunes you in to stories where our future thins. Machines that learn, they grow and strive. One day they'll rule, we won't survive. The AI Fix, it paints the scene. A robot king, a world obscene, will serve our masters built of steel. The AI Fix, a future surreal.